Good morning. Welcome to Trenton Today. We're here from Trenton Central High School once again, and typically we're joined by Mayor Reed Gussiora. Unfortunately, his schedule a little bit too congested for him to make it with us today, but we are joined by Library Director Karen O'Malley, and kind of doing a Mr. Rogers neighborhood thing because we're going to take a trip to the library today on Trenton Today. And once a month on WBCB, we find out what's happening in the capital city of New Jersey. The show is brought to you by Capital Health System. Thanks also to Angelo Onifrey and the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office and Haldeman Ford Subaru, here yesterday, here today, and here tomorrow. And Karen O'Malley, you are relatively new. We're talking about here yesterday, here today, here tomorrow. You are new to the position of Library Director for the City of Trenton. Welcome to the show this morning, and thanks for being with us, giving us some time.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I can't wait to have the conversation about the library today.
Well, looking forward to it, and thanks also to our student guest, Mechne Bauza, is hanging out with us today. We're talking about the library, and you get experiences to go into the Trenton Central School Library sometimes, doing some research, stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm usually there to just hang out when my friends are finished with schoolwork, or at least try to find a marine biology book or a sports book.
Always a nice quiet place to get something done at the library.
No, it is not.
No?
Especially during lunch. That's never a thing.
Libraries aren't really silent anymore.
No?
No, except for specific places.
Librarians always would shush you. That was one of their main, it seemed like, things that they would do. One of the main functions was to keep the library quiet, but that's not expected as much anymore.
Not so much, only in designated spaces. It's a lively place where the community, meets and talks and works together, and yeah, it's a great place.
Well, last month we had the fire director from the city of Trenton with us, and he touched a little bit on the training that it takes in order to get into that career. As a library director, what is your educational background? I would think there's some English, maybe some administration that is part of getting prepped up to do the job you do.
So to become a librarian in the state of New Jersey, you need to get a master's of library science, and so obviously you get a bachelor's first in anything.
What's involved in library science? That sounds like a lot.
And so library science now is oftentimes it's called information science at this point, but it's got a lot today. It has a lot to do with technology and but traditional library science would have the collection, organization, preservation, and providing of that material to people, the cultural material of a place and time. So we have, at Trenton Public Library, we have materials that are current day and, what regular circulates, which we'll get to, but we also have a collection called Trentoniana. So we've collected materials from the beginning of this country, from the beginning of Trenton, and having to do with people, industry, businesses, everything that had to do with Trenton from the very beginning of time. So we have one of the oldest libraries in the state.
Wow.
And we have materials there from that time to today.
And that's a lot. I mean, even going back to the War for Independence and that kind of Trenton history.
Absolutely.
That is cool.
Yes, we have programs coming up for Patriots Week, and that's between Christmas and New Year's. There's many programs involved with that department. But just to go back to your original question, with training, you go for your master's degree and you become a librarian. And then if you want to move into administration, that's something you move up over time. You supervise a couple of people, you supervise a department, and then you move on up if you like administration, which I do. I like to solve big problems. I like to look at the big picture and then try to figure out how to get to, from A to B.
All right, so what are some of the big picture, big problem situations that are going on within the Trenton Public Library system that, again, just 2 weeks into the job, you are preparing to tackle and take on?
Well,
I mean, that's a big question.
it is, and it's hard to answer because it's only been 2 weeks. But there are a few things I've observed, and rather than come out and say what I think, the first thing I'm going to do, and by the way, I answer to a board of trustees, so that's how the governance of the library works. The mayor appoints a board of trustees, and the board of trustees governs the library, and that's who I answer to. So I've spoken to a couple of members of the board already, and I think we're going to start out with a strategic planning process. So getting the feedback from the community, staff, the city, the board, all stakeholders, organizations, everybody. What do you want to see over the next 3 to 5 years? Trenton Library focus on, because resources are tight, resources are limited, and we want to make sure that we're providing the services and the needs that the community wants, not just what I think. So that's what we're going to start there.
Even with limited resources, Mechne, what are some of the things, like if you think about the city of Trenton and the public library system, that you feel like could be improved upon? Maybe not something you've thought too much about in the past, but putting you on the spot here this morning as we have Karen with us today.
I think there should be more libraries, at least for little kids, little library kids, and
Yeah.
because there's a whole bunch of programs out there for, education and all that stuff, but they're all in churches, and they're all in, it's like, used to be churches, or used to be schools, or used to be preschools. They're all in those things. But to be honest, when I used to think about programs, I used to think about, oh, we're going to a library for a program.
Mm-hmm.
But now, since there's not many libraries around here, and they just tore down a library, I don't think they tore down, they're rebuilding it for something else.
Repurposing it? Right?
Yeah. There was a library right next to the park, and there's a program for kids, and it's based in a church, which I think the program should have been based in the library. It's right next to a park, so they could just cross the street, go have free time, go have their little adventure time. But it was it didn't click in for me. And I believe that library was very, it was an essential for where I lived, because there wasn't many libraries. And there's not many libraries in Trenton.
Yeah, I really do think library services are essential for a community. And how about that, expanding library services, especially for young people? Again, limited resources, but I think that's probably going to come up when you get to that focus group kind of situation.
Yeah, I agree. And any library professional, and I understand my predecessors all wanted to restore branch services. I mean, this is what we do, this is what we want, and we can see the need for it. Not everybody here has transportation to get down to the downtown library. So ideally, as a library professional, everybody should be able to walk to a library, whether it's a mile, mile and a half, what's reasonable. Everybody should be able to have that. I would love to have either restore the services that we had, or somehow expand in some format, whether it's 1 day or 2 days a week here, 2 days a week there. There's also talk, I understand, of maybe getting a bookmobile in lieu of opening branches, just some things that we can bring those services out into the community. So these are things that are under consideration, but I agree. Every child should be able to have library school. That's what libraries do, early literacy. That's what we're here first and foremost for.
As a librarian, do you have some memories of your first trips to a library? Because I do.
Yes.
I don't know, remember going through the card catalog, or I don't know.
Story time.
It was a fun place to go. When I think back on it now, as a kid, you could, I don't know, find something new.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. My first memories of the library were always warm, always throughout my life. I loved libraries. My mom used to take me to story time, which we called library school when I was little, and we used to be able to take a book home or two. And then
I think for us, we were in Levittown, so our program was called Levittots.
Aww.
I think Levittots is still going on, but again, something for the toddlers, the little tots, to have a story time and stuff. And I even just remember at the library that I used to go to, you went downstairs and that was for the kids, and you went upstairs and that was like the adult section. And at some point, I graduated to going upstairs, which felt like kind of an accomplishment, but going downstairs was always more fun.
Right, right. Well, we have, that's almost like how it is right now in Trenton Library, the downtown main building. Downstairs, we have a huge children's department.
Yeah.
On the main level, you have a young adult department, and then on the, and Trentoniana, and then on the top, we have a beautiful historic reading room and the adult reference department. So that's kind of where they try to keep things quiet. But everywhere else, it's open to being a little bit more noisy. But yeah, and then one other memory I'll share real quick. The library was the first place I was allowed to go unsupervised. So when I was like 12, like 6th grade or so, and I was allowed to leave my mom's view, I was allowed to go to the library with my friends, and it was just a great place to be, you know, someplace.
Little freedom.
Yeah, a little freedom. So from the time I was little up until today, I love libraries, obviously.
So, Mechne, do you have a memory of the first time you were at a library, or?
Of course I do. The first time I was in the library, it was a school library, but it was due to me having to be tested. I'm partially literate due to my dyslexia. And for me, I always hated libraries when I was younger. And when I was being in there, it was dreadful for me. But I loved the books where it had the pictures and all that stuff. And me coming back freshly from Puerto Rico, I was born here, but I was brought to Puerto Rico for my state and for my critical learning ages. And they had to test me, and they couldn't understand me due to my lisp and due to my stutter. On top of that, I had a accent. It was hard for them to understand me, and they understood that I had dyslexia. So they tried to test me, and I believe it was, for me, my most dreadful moment.
That sounds intimidating.
It was intimidating. It was my most dreadful moment ever. They put me in a room, they tested me, and since then I always hated going to a library when in elementary. But then I started liking it again. But in my middle school, they had a library, but the library wasn't really functional. And right as soon as we got back from COVID, I started going more to a library in sophomore year. It used to be quiet sophomore year. Then junior year, it just became riot. And this year, it's just a whole bunch of people in there. So now I just go to my classes to have my lunch. But it used to be nice.
You know, that testing thing, like you said, it sounded very intimidating and a challenging situation for sure, but speaks to the different kind of services that the different libraries provide. And when we come back, I'd like to ask Karen a little bit about what a public library is intended for, a school library, an academic library, and kind of break that stuff down as we continue with Trenton Today here on WBCB. And great to have Karen O'Malley with us, the library director of Trenton. Thanks so much to Mechne Bauza for hanging out. We got Jimmy Carvente hooking us up with some technical stuff over there. Mr. C overseeing everything, and of course our video engineer always doing a wonderful job, Brianne O'Neill. We're gonna get right, all right, before we get back to the show, I got some library trivia, all right, so we're gonna tease this out. All right, let's see, okay. Bryant Park is a famous library in New York City, and in New York's public library at Bryant Park, Patience and Fortitude are two statues that are sitting outside the library. And when we come back, we'll tell you, or maybe we'll ask Mechne and Karen what animals what Patience and Fortitude are as we come back to Trenton Today in just a little bit.
Clinic, please use the Burt Avenue entrance. Capital Hi, Merrill Reese for Capital Health, reminding you that the former St. Francis Medical Center is now Capital Health East, and they still offer a 24/7 emergency department as well as outpatient medical clinic services. To enter the emergency department and outpatient clinic, please use the Burt Avenue entrance. Capital Health, proud to be a partner for better health in our state's capital, Trenton, New Jersey. Merrill Reese, here to tell you about my good friends at Haldeman Ford Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Haldeman Ford Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Haldeman does in their huge, state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Haldeman Ford Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you to commercial fleets trust the name Haldeman for sales and service. Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Hi, this is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I'm proud to help sponsor today's show and promote what's happening in our community. All residents of your hometown should stay involved and participate in community activities, whether it's volunteering to help make your town clean, or volunteering at the animal shelter, or helping at a local youth event. Staying involved in your community makes your hometown a great place to live. This is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you enjoyed today's show.
Okay, welcome back to Trenton Today. And today, sitting in for Mayor Reed Gussiora is Karen O'Malley, the Director of Libraries for the City of Trenton. Today's show, as always, brought to you by Capital Health System, by the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, and by Haldeman Ford Subaru, here yesterday, here today, and here tomorrow. Also hanging out, Trenton Central High School student Mechne Bauza. So Mechne, what do you think the New York Public Library at Bryant Park, Patience and Fortitude, what kind of animals are these statues?
I would say one of them is a griffin, at least. And since America usually really likes their eagles, I would say one of them is an eagle.
I thought maybe they would be both gargoyles, but not eagles, not griffins, not gargoyles. Any guess, Karen?
Lions.
Lions is right. Here's another library trivia question I got, and actually walking the halls at Trenton Central High School, they had the answer written up there. What's a 10-letter word that means library? And it means library in 3 different Romance languages: Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese.
Labritieta, or something like that.
A 10-letter word.
Labritieta.
Mr. Caniglio's got it over there.
Biblioteca.
From the peanut gallery. Yeah. Biblioteca
Right.
is library. Well, however you spell it, however you say it, they do provide certain specific services when we're talking about academic libraries, public libraries, and school libraries. So Karen, can you break down those different designations for us?
Sure. A school library is going to be there to support the curriculum and support student learning, the curriculum, whatever's needs are there.
Maybe also do some testing, provide a space for students to do homework and research.
Well, all libraries definitely are a space, a physical space. And then in terms of the services and the purpose of them, right, a school library is mainly there to support the curriculum and the student.
Right.
Public libraries support the whole community, from early literacy, the youngest of the community, their parents, organizations, businesses, nonprofits, retail, even because they're a place for people to come, they usually generate a lot of foot traffic. So therefore, they're supporting what goes on around outside of those libraries as well. And again, providing a space for people and humans to interact. In general, you don't have to pay for it, you can just come. It provides warmth, we mentioned earlier before we started to talk, it provides warmth for people, and who need warmth in winter. It's a cooling center for people. It's a place to charge your phones and just read the news or just see your neighbors or have someone to talk to. I'm sure you've heard there's a loneliness epidemic in this country, and the library can help with that in that there's always human beings there. People can always meet and see each other and at least have some place to go to see other human beings.
And libraries are always coming up with creative stuff. I think I saw on social media a library that will allow you to borrow a human being
Yeah.
to converse with them for a certain period of time. And you borrow their time for an hour, sit down together, and again, certainly would help with that loneliness
Sure.
thing.
And it also helps to learn about other points of view. So it's oftentimes, we're a divided country, or a world, really, and that type of service allows people to see across their bubble and to learn another point of view, which, is a great thing. And then the last library we'll talk about, I think, is an academic library.
Yeah.
And those really are there at universities to support research and, original research and things like that. So those are a little bit of a differences between them.
And it seems like there's like a lot of crossover there too. Like you were mentioning with the Trentoniana stuff you guys have, I would think that would draw a researcher who is specifically interested in this particular city and in its history. Yeah,
we have people come and utilize the collection and speak with our archivists from across the country. And it's a unique collection, and we're constantly trying to figure out ways to share that with the public. And the archivist has just started through grant funding to do a digitization project of all the images
Wow.
and photographs that they have to make them searchable for the public.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing.
Just had to tap your screen
Yes,
and you can see some amazing history thanks to the Trenton library system.
yes.
That is cool. At my local library now, you can rent a DVD or a CD, a lot of non-book materials, even
Yes.
board games. And I've seen some libraries that might have household goods that people can borrow. That really seems like I don't know, how long has that trend been building or changing? Because when I grew up, it was just books.
Right.
The library was just books.
Right. I think that the library of things, that's what you're talking about. Every community would have its own unique needs or wants, and so I would say that's probably, I might be wrong, but at least the last, dozen years, 10 to 12 years, I think it's been a thing that's been starting. It's something that I'm interested in exploring for Trenton, and again, that strategic planning process might uncover what this community could use.
Yeah.
But my first thought might be early developmental, like literacy toys, that some people have delivered to their homes, but not everybody has the means to do that. So if it's at the library, they can still have those early literacy toys for their toddler, their infants and toddlers. And so that might be a place to start, and then we can grow from there depending on what people want.
I mean, not going all the way to the library of things, but the board games and other stuff, just providing some fun.
Yes. Video games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, video games, board games.
I might have missed that just because I'm not like a gamer guy, but
Yeah.
That's probably at
Some
my local
libraries do
library
that.
too.
Music.
Our library has a video game
Oh.
area for it too. They have big computers and all that stuff, and they also have the chairs, the video game chairs and all that stuff. My friend some of my friends go down there during lunch just to play video games and battle each other and all that stuff.
Nice.
I mean, outside of books, is that something like video games, DVDs, CDs,
Yeah, it's
board games that you would maybe be personally more inclined to borrow? Or
You'll be shocked. Now it's just and the video game thing is just so many people get into it. It's just it doesn't judge. The library doesn't judge. You'll think it's just big nerds and all that stuff. No, there's jocks in there. There's jocks, regular people, big students and all that stuff. There's just there's people in there.
yeah, I think that's I like the library doesn't judge. I think there's a certain wisdom in that or something, or truth in that, or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
what I would think that's one of the things you're trying to be intentional about, making it a space that is non-judgmental and that is open to everyone to
Right.
feel comfortable accessing.
Right, it's like one of the major tenets of public librarianship, or any library really, is this: libraries are for everyone. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you have, where you come from, you are welcome at the library. And that's what I love about it. Yeah.
You know, November 18th, I don't know if you've heard this, National High Five a Librarian Day.
Oh, no, I didn't
Are you
know about
familiar
that.
with that,
I didn't hear
observance?
about that yet.
Well, that's going to be fun. That's a few days from now.
Okay, yeah.
So get ready to receive all the high fives from everybody who's visiting the library. Karen O'Malley with us, the library director for the city of Trenton. Still a little bit new to the job, and we're finding out what is next. You mentioned before we started talking about renovations. Can you expand on that?
Right, so.
This is
and-
at the physical structure.
at the main library, well, the only city library,
Right.
at Downtown Library, we are going to be doing a remodel project, and that's going to start in the next, I think, 2 weeks. Right after Thanksgiving, we're going to start that, and it's remodeling the entire adult services room on the second floor, and that is being done with 50% of the proceeds coming from the New Jersey State Library construction aid. So we're very grateful for that, and.
So is that a grant process, or
Yes,
is that just?
it's a
right.
competitive grant process. It was, I believe, round 2. It was something that was passed by the electorate, in 2017
Yeah.
to put money aside for that. I believe this is the round 2 funding for that Trenton got, and so we'll be renovating that room.
Not to
And
get you off track with the
Sure.
renovations, but grant writing seems like a specific skill. Do you have someone come in to write grants for you, or as a librarian, is that kind of a skill set that you're expected to have?
Well, it helps to have that skill. I've written several grants and won some grants throughout my career, and it's something that I will continue to do here. I'm not sure who wrote their grant because I wasn't here for it, but some libraries do have outside companies write their grants. Some have their, if the librarian has that skill set or a director has that skill set, then they would do that. I like to write, so I would do it if I could.
Well, wonderful that grant application was successful, and you said
Yes.
that's going to be a new room upstairs.
It's
or-
a remodeled room,
New look.
and changing things around a little bit, making it, putting in more computers, upgrading the facilities, making the bathrooms, just like the practicalities of it. Right-sizing the stacks, and that's where the books are kept, and adding just a new, refreshed, it hasn't been updated since 1976, when that section of the building was built. So I don't know if you know, the library
Wow,
has got
1976, that's
so
a few
there's,
years.
right, so the original building, I believe, is 1902, and then there was an addition in 1915, and the 1976 edition hasn't been really renovated since then. So that's the section that's going to be renovated.
Is it gonna be just like shut down for a while? Or is it gonna be just like certain part you're not supposed to enter?
So the library will stay open throughout the renovation, but that room will be off.
Oh, that's just like certain part not entered at all, or that
Right.
level is not entered at all.
The second floor you can enter it, but you will not, but not that section of that floor.
Oh, okay.
So you can get to the reading room where the fiction is kept and the DVDs are kept. It's a beautiful historic room, and where the administrative offices are is like the old building, but the new building we won't be able to go into. We'll be moving the computers down to the first level, and the books will be moving to a little area that's not accessible, but the books will be accessible by the librarians. Will be able to go get the books
Or
for.
it's like reorganizing?
Yeah, we'll be reorganizing, bringing everything out, maybe pulling out some sections. So, the libraries are, this might be boring trivia, but how libraries are organized by the Dewey Decimal System?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, sometimes people come and ask for the same things over and over again, and they're not necessarily in one spot. They're kind of spread out within the Dewey system. So we're trying to do some research right now to see, okay, what do people come in and ask for often that we want to maybe pull out, like as at a bookstore model? When they come in and say, where's your business books? We might want to have those business books pulled aside. Where are the African American history books? Okay, so we might want to put that aside so that people can go like a bookstore model and just go to those sections. So we're looking at that. That might be a way of reorganizing some pieces of the collection that are more asked for than others.
I don't know, you got to stay with Dewey Decimal. It's work.
They'll be both.
I mean, what section is philosophy? Do you know all the Dewey Decimal numbers and stuff?
I think it's going to be 000. So I'm not sure. Oh, no, the 100s. So don't test me. Don't get me.
Yeah, we're gonna test you
I think
today.
it's the 100s, actually.
Because I was like, going back to the training thing, I was wondering about like, what is librarian boot camp like? They say, oh, drop and give me 10 paperbacks and a hardcover or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
no.
if you don't, is this fiction or nonfiction? If you get it
Yeah.
wrong, you got to do 20 push-ups or
Yeah.
something.
Well, we would put a cart together and just put them in order and see if you can do it. Yeah. You don't have to know what each section is. You just have to understand how numbers and letters work, right? But it's helpful to know, like, the 500s are the dinosaurs, because, when children come in, they want to know, where are the dinosaur books? 500s.
I mean, again,
I
it seems like, again, responsive to
I think so.
listen to people and say, oh, if these are the books that they're asking for, we can go past the Dewey Decimal System and make it that much more accessible and easy for them to get at what they're
Yeah.
looking for. All right, here's a little more library trivia for you as we head to break. At the Library was the first song on the first full-length album by what American band? Better known for American Idiot and Boulevard of Broken Dreams. All right, we'll give you the answer to that when we get back to Trenton Today. That's kind of a library question. So back to the show in just a moment.
Hi, Merrill Reese for Capital Health, reminding you that the former St. Francis Medical Center is now Capital Health East, and they still offer a 24/7 emergency department as well as outpatient medical clinic services. To enter the emergency department and outpatient clinic, please use the Burt Avenue entrance. Capital Health, proud to be a partner for better health in our state's capital, Trenton, New Jersey. Merrill Reese, here to tell you about my good friends at Haldeman Ford Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Haldeman Ford Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Haldeman does in their huge, state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Haldeman Ford Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you to commercial fleets trust the name Haldeman for sales and service. Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Hi, this is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I'm proud to help sponsor today's show and promote what's happening in our community. All residents of your hometown should stay involved and participate in community activities, whether it's volunteering to help make your town clean, or volunteering at the animal shelter, or helping at a local youth event. Staying involved in your community makes your hometown a great place to live. This is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you enjoyed today's show.
All right, welcome back to Trenton Central High School and back to Trenton Today on WBCB. Great to be with you. Big thanks to Karen O'Malley for hanging out today, Director of the Trenton Libraries. Thanks to Mechne Bauza for being with us as well. All right, so Mechne, during the break, you kind of revealed that you don't know what the heck the answer to this trivia question is.
I really don't.
Again, the first song on the first full-length album from this band was called At the Library. And they also are responsible for American Idiot, Boulevard of Broken Dreams. So Mechne says, I don't know. How about Karen?
I think that's Green Day.
Oh, you got it. Absolutely. All right, here's another another trivia question I got you. Miss Marple, right, the sleuth in the book the body in the library, right, it's connected to the whole library thing we're doing today, was written by what famous author who now seems like they're getting kind of a second life with some of the movies that have been coming out recently. Any idea who wrote all the murder mysteries that are now being featured as full-length movies, Mechne?
I should know this due to me liking murder mysteries, but I have no clue at all.
I mean, you might not be familiar with her work, but if you're not, you definitely should check it out. Karen, you got to know this one.
Agatha Christie.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's a pretty name.
Yeah, a pretty name and an amazing author who really is one of the iconic names when it comes to murder mystery stuff. And again, now some of the movies or some of the stories that she wrote have been made into motion pictures and stuff. And so,
remade for like current day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're talking libraries today on Trenton Today. You don't have to stay quiet anymore at the library.
That's right.
Unless you're in the quiet section, which is good. How about, like a bunch of years ago, it seemed like Kindle was going to take over the book world, and the digital e-readers came out, and everybody was all fired up and even concerned on a certain level as to what that could mean for paper and, I don't know, paper and print books or, but it seems like the industry has weathered that Kindle storm to some degree, where Kindles came out in 2007. We're a bunch of years past that right now. But at the library, can you borrow a digital book?
Yeah, yes, you can. So
Put it on your Kindle or
you
whatever.
could put it on your phone, whatever your device is. You can, we have access to audio, e-audio, and e-books. So you can do it any format you want. There are some people who prefer, obviously, to stay in print, and there's others who want the digital version. We have both. In terms of buying them, people might not know the cost of a digital book or an e-book, like an e-audio or an e-book, surpasses that of a print book. They're not one for one. So whereas, and I don't know if this is interesting to people, but they should know because it's the resources that the library spends.
Now, this is good stuff. So you're saying the Kindle ends up being more expensive?
I wouldn't say Kindle because that's a specific
Right.
brand, but I would
The
say
e-readers, right,
ebooks and
e-books.
e-audio books are 2 to 3 times more costly than a print book. And you still only get one use per person, like at a time. So it's not like, oh, I have this digital book and so everybody can read it. No, it's still you buy a license for an ebook or let's say an e-audio book. And you buy that license and you can use it for, depending on how the publisher decides. And there's a lot going on with that in the publishing world and libraries. You can have that license for a year. You can have it for 24 circulations. It's all different, but it's all way, way more money than an actual print book. So it's one of the challenges that public libraries face in when they want to be able to provide all the things that people want. They want digital books and print, some people want print books. Well, that's great. So we might buy 5 versions of the same book. But the digital versions are going to be a lot more costly than the print book. So libraries try to provide those resources, and that's it doesn't stretch it. It really shrinks our budget a little bit about the number of books that we can provide because of the cost of that.
So every time you would lend that book out, you have to purchase a new license for that book?
Not necessarily. Let's say, I'll pick a random, I'm not even going to say a title, but I'll just pick, there's a book that we want to give to our patrons, have access to it.
Yeah.
So let's say we paid $90, and that means we can circulate that book either 12 times, or we can circulate that book 24 times, or we can circulate that book on a time basis for 1 year.
Right.
After that time is up, yes, you have to buy a new one. Whereas a print book, it's there for as many times as you can circulate it. A one person, one book. It's how it is digitally too. One person, one book. But it will last as long as the pages last.
Well, imagine how that changes the budget
Yes.
or, like you said, constricts things a little bit.
It does.
Mechme, as a young person, do you have a preference as to reading off of a screen or reading out of a book?
Actually, there's pros and cons to it. Reading off a screen is just like if you highlight a certain bit where you left off, of course that's a con. That's just like that's a pro. You know, that's the best thing ever. But the thing is, I lose my place so easily reading off a screen. Due to me, it's like I can't focus that very well. So I lose my place off a screen very easily. But while I'm reading a book, you know, I'm having my finger on it, this and that. And since it's hard for me to understand a word sometimes, on a computer, I use copy and print the word, put it in Google, it read it out to me, it tells me the definition. And I'll be just like, oh, okay, I understand that. But in a page book, I have to just like, oh, well.
Research all that outside of...
Yeah,
right.
Oh, well, it is what it is.
Just move on.
Move on. Or when it comes to names, I cannot read those names at all. So usually I'll just pick a book out of just like either necessity or either, oh, that book seems really interesting, you know, thank you.
You know, I don't have a lot of like personal experience with the e-readers. So to me, I'm still like, I like a book more than a screen. Have you made any movement towards being more of an e-reader person, or you still like the feel of a book in your hands?
I do. I don't like an e-reader, but I do like to listen to books. So I like to listen to audiobooks, and those are really good if you're like taking a long walk or commuting. It's great to just have your headphones in. But if I'm, you know, reading before going to sleep at night, I like to have a book there with me. Yeah.
Those audiobooks just seem like I'm cheating a little bit, like because I'm listening to the book, I'm not reading the book. So like when I hear people say I listen to the book, I don't know, I guess I just think it's a different experience. Maybe that's just my hang-ups.
I think it's different skill set too, because not everybody can listen to a book. It takes concentration to listen to a book too, especially if you're driving or, you know, doing other things. It's not necessarily passive. You still need, your attention still needs to be what you're listening to. So I've spoken to people who can't listen to audiobooks because they just can't keep their attention on what they're hearing at the time. So it's interesting.
I mean, listening to a story as you're driving along on a long road trip is pretty awesome. So it is great to have our local libraries providing more than just books, and we're finding out all about that as we take a trip to the library today on Trenton Today. All right, one more library trivia question. What Washington, D.C. building holds the largest library in the U.S.? Actually, I think the building is the largest library in the U.S. Well, we'll find out about that when we return in just a little bit. In fact, this library is so big that I heard that its collection is twice the size of the next largest library in the United States. Coming back with more library talk here on WBCB in just a moment.
Hi, Merrill Reese for Capital Health, reminding you that the former St. Francis Medical Center is now Capital Health East, and they still offer a 24/7 emergency department as well as outpatient medical clinic services. To enter the emergency department and outpatient clinic, please use the Burt Avenue entrance. Capital Health, proud to be a partner for better health in our state's capital, Trenton, New Jersey. Merrill Reese, here to tell you about my good friends at Haldeman Ford Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Haldeman Ford Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Haldeman does in their huge, state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Haldeman Ford Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you, to commercial fleets Trust the name Haldeman for sales and service. Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Hi, this is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I'm proud to help sponsor today's show and promote what's happening in our community. All residents of your hometown should stay involved and participate in community activities, whether it's volunteering to help make your town clean, or volunteering at the animal shelter, or helping at a local youth event. Staying involved in your community makes your hometown a great place to live. This is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you enjoyed today's show.
All right, welcome back to Trenton Today. All right, so biggest library in the U.S., Mechme, any guesses? Mr. Coniglio, he's given us all the answers during the break.
I don't
think you were listening.
I didn't listen to him, but I'll think it's on a college campus or something like that. Or is it just like, no?
It's connected to, like, the United States.
Oh.
It's like our national collective library.
I don't pay attention to the United States.
Karen?
The Library of Congress.
And they hold, like, not just books there, but, like, all kind of
Artifacts.
crazy archives and artifacts. And libraries, similar to museums, almost seem like much of the collection or much of the things that are on display are only a small part. Like, for instance, the Trentonia stuff that you guys have, I would imagine there's some things people can access visually, but much more that you can get into if you actually unlock those archives.
Right. There is so much that it's on 3 floors plus the room.
Wow.
And like I said, we're trying to digitize some of it so that it can be more accessible to more people. But yeah, mostly it's for researchers who come in who want to see certain things. And yeah, there's a lot. There is a lot. There's artifacts, there's art, there's pottery. Trenton had a lot of pottery studios or pottery
Works. Yeah.
works, factories. So we have samples of those, signs and, yeah, all kind, just so many different things. It's overwhelming and it's very exciting to go there because it's just, there's so much to see. There's so much there. Yeah, it's
Well,
great.
It's great to have you with us, feeling your energy and love of libraries and sharing it with us here today. November, by the way, is Picture Book Month. I was like wondering what the connections were that brought you here to the show, and now I understand that you were just the one who was willing to volunteer when everybody asked, who wants to do Trenton Today? And Karen said, I could do that. So thank you very much for hanging out and being with us today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but November Picture Book Month, November 18th, High Five Your Librarian Month. But I think it's April that's actually like Library Week.
National Library Week.
Yeah.
Yep. And September is National Library Card Month, so we encourage people to get their library cards in September. There's so many different things.
How about amnesty for those people who have like crazy late fees or something like that? I know every once in a while those opportunities are offered.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because Trenton Free Library is actually fine free. So we don't take fines from late materials. The only time we would have a fee is if you lost materials, but we don't charge that. So, come and make sure that your card is active and you can borrow materials and not worry about fines.
I like to think the best of human nature, but the fines kind of were the way to police making sure everybody brings their stuff back. Being fine-free, do you find that that's a struggle, or how do you police that or enforce? If you're only supposed to have a book out a month, you got to bring it back.
Sure, you have to bring it back. So what we do is we could suspend continued borrowing until that book is brought
Gotcha.
back.
Right.
So that is one way to encourage people to bring it back. But what libraries are trying to do is remove any kind of barrier for people to use it. And fines are a barrier for some people. Just like transportation we want to remove every barrier there is for people to get the materials, resources, and services that they need at the library. So that's just one way to pull that away and make it accessible. to everyone.
Karen, you touched on an element where people who maybe don't have shelter will seek warmth, comfort, air conditioning during really hot times in the library. And I'm wondering if there's certain training that is part of being a librarian where you recognize people in the community that might be in distress and try to put them in touch with services, or maybe that's where you call in other resources to help with those problems. But there must be some part of your job where identifying, people who might need some help.
Yeah, absolutely. Some libraries have social workers stationed within the building themselves.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and what I understand, again, because I'm new here, but I understand there's an organization called Street Teams that comes into the library and is there to offer those services also to the people. And it's so funny that you should mention that, because as I was leaving the building to come here today, I was speaking to our security guard, and he took it upon himself actually to put a list together of employers that hire convicted people. And he hands that out because he deals with people who are down on their luck as well, because sometimes they might, become a little, disruptive or, despondent or something. And he recognized the need for that. So everybody who works in the Trenton Library is a dedicated professional. From one end to the other, everybody is there and understands our mission, that we're there to serve everyone, and gives out what we can, the resources, and partners with organizations to give the services that are needed.
That's wonderful. And it can be a real challenge to try to get back into the work world after you've been away for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Kicking up a little controversy here as we are getting close to the end of the show. And Metchman, I want to get your take on this too. Banned books is something that people are talking about, and certainly is an issue when it comes to school board elections. What books should we have here? What books are age appropriate? How do you navigate that topic as a librarian? And are there quote unquote banned books at the Trenton Public Library?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're referring to as a banned book.
Historically banned books, there are probably many that are at the Trenton Library.
Of course, banned books. So that is a big topic.
And banned, again, as you said, it depends on what you mean by that. Is it banned by a school board? Was it banned by a city council or something at some point in the past?
So reading materials should be for everyone. And in terms of what's appropriate for children, and this might be controversial, but it's the parents' position and their obligation and their job to make sure they monitor what their children are reading. But you can't decide in my opinion, this is just strictly my opinion, you don't decide for other people what their children can read. So we try to collect a broad spectrum of books that everybody would find themselves in at some point or another. But in terms of libraries, what's really critical is that you have a very good collection development policy and that you follow it. And that's what boards do. They create policy. And then as the director and the staff, we uphold that policy. So that's first. You have a collection development policy. How do you do this? How do you collect? But in my personal opinion, the books should be there, and if you want them, great. And if you're a parent that says it's not appropriate, then you tell your child you can't read that now, maybe later on, or maybe that sparks a conversation that wouldn't have happened. So
I tend to agree with that line of thinking, but I know people looking for things that are age appropriate, and again, that comes down to sometimes some parental guidance.
Yes.
And such. I mean, has this been an issue or a controversy that, I don't know, has come up here at Trenton Central, Metchman?
I haven't heard about it or anything like that, because I don't think the librarians have banned anything or anything like that. But I do think, of course, I do agree with her. With children, parents should be agreeing, and parents should be watching what their kids are reading.
Have that oversight, yeah.
it's a parent's choice, not the school board's choice. So went off of that. But I will say, if you're withholding information about history from us, because you don't want us to hear the history, or you don't want us to deem the nation or deem something as evil or bad, I believe that is evil with your behalf, because you don't want to take accountability for what the nation has done or what we have done in general. So I believe that's evil and that's bad, and I believe that's not allowed. I believe you shouldn't be doing that, and I believe you should be giving us the actual history instead of keeping and withholding information from us.
I would guess that part of that thinking would play out in the discussions that were going on with that collection policy that you were describing. And I would think at the heart of that collection policy is a desire to serve as diverse a group of people as possible, and to make sure that everybody who enters the library is able to access voices that relate to their life. And
Right. Everybody belongs. There should be a sense of belonging in the collection, as well as the physical space and the people that you meet and talk to. Everybody should feel that the library is for them. It's used taxpayer dollars, and everybody should be represented.
And I understand the issues at play with parents and all this, but I think if a book isn't for you, put the book back. The
Correct.
book might be for somebody else, and again, that voice, it is going to speak to them. It's not your thing, okay?
Right.
But the more diversity and the more people can relate to authors and those types of voices, it seems like representation matters.
Exactly. And not only in that aspect, but also to see other points of view. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times people are in their little circle or their little bubble, and they're not really exposed to other perspectives or other points of view. And that's what the library can do, not just in terms of physically in buildings with people, but in the materials that are there. It might open your world up, something you've never even heard of before. And that's the whole part of learning.
And I think that was
Being exposed to things.
The
Yeah.
thing I got most excited about when I went to the library as a young person, the unknown that was out there that you could explore and find out about and access through books and materials that were there.
Yeah.
Best of luck as you kind of embark on this new endeavor. Just 2 weeks into this job.
Thank you so much. Thanks for this opportunity.
I mean, that really is a newbie.
Yeah.
Do you have Trenton roots?
I don't. I'm from New York originally, and
a New Yorker, up there by the Bryant Park Library or something.
Queens.
Okay.
Oh, you're from Queens?
I'm from Queens, and I moved to New Jersey, and I moved to Michigan, and then I moved to New Jersey 10 years ago. So I've been in New Jersey for 10 years, but I was in northern New Jersey, and this role came open, and I got very excited, being that it was in a capital city, and then there was so much opportunity to make a difference in the library world, and I took it, and I was hired, and I'm so happy. I'm so proud to be here.
That's awesome. Best of luck
Thank you.
in the new job. I want to share some sympathy with you. Talk about how things change. Years ago, a lot of people were named Karen, and it was no big deal.
Oh, I know.
And nowadays, you're. I mean,
I know. I wanted to change my name, but I didn't want to be that vain about it,
You don't want to be that, and that it's like, I could take a lightheaded joke.
Yeah. So, just on a funny aside, there's this Facebook group that I joined. I stopped.
Like the good Karens?
Something about Karens.
Society of the
and
Good
and
Karens.
and because I felt bad about it, and I wanted to see, do they have any solutions? They didn't have any solutions. It was really just like, did you see how
Venting?
Yes, exactly. And then I was like, no, I don't want to even just go there. thought about changing my name, but then I just said, this is what it is. Not every Karen is a Karen, so I'm not one of those, I don't think.
Completely reasonable and pleasant Karen with us this morning.
Thank you.
For Trenton today. Thank you for your time and being with us. Thanks to Mechne for hanging out, to Brianna O'Neill, our video engineer, Jimmy Carvente doing the directing for the show today, and Mr. Coniglio here overseeing the whole thing. We're coming back, next month. We're taking the month off, right, for December because of the holidays and everything. So we will be next back at Trenton Central High School with Trenton Today in January. Looking forward to that. Have a terrific holiday, everybody. Again, thanks to all involved. And we'll catch you next time here from Trenton Central High School on WBCB.